Good afternoon. Good afternoon. So, welcome everyone. So, we're just going to give it a few more minutes because we're seeing that people are still coming in. I'll introduce our speaker and then we'll start. So, we're just going to give it a minute or two, at the most 5 minutes, and then we'll start. But thank you for joining us, and then we'll start shortly.
Yeah, Tipo, we can see here that the recording has started.
That's great stuff. Great.
So it seems to be working.
Okay, I think we should just start so that we allow time for questions at the end. So, I'm not going to wait too long. So, yeah, good afternoon again. Thank you for joining us on this webinar. This is a webinar in preparation to what's our summit. And so one of the guests that we have will be facilitating one of our workshops. So I'm going to introduce our speaker today, Christopher Thompson. He is a director at the Institute in Brazil, Lean Institute Brazil, and he's also a member of he's an executive exec member of the Lean Global Network, the LGN, of which we are a member of as an institute in South Africa. So he comes with a lot of experience, over 21 years, that he's been doing this work across, Latin America, supporting over 300 companies on their lean transformation journey. So, over to you, Chris, and thanks for, joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, Tipo. And it's a pleasure participating in this activity here with South Africa. I personally have never been to South Africa, so I'm very curious to get to know everybody, learn a little more about the culture and the challenges. I will be like it's on the slide. I hope everybody can see the slide that I'm sharing. But I will be one of the speakers, so I really hope to see all of you there, so where that we can continue our conversation. Like Hippo was saying, I've been working with Lean for the past 21 years, and I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of different companies, different sectors, helping them with their challenges. Many of those connect with the strategy deployment, going until the shop floor and getting the line operating and really connected with the process of continuous improvement. We're going to talk today about one of the techniques that's being used a lot, the daily management. But it's interesting, even though everybody has been talking about daily management for so many decades, we didn't have a proper literature following daily management. So, in the past few years, the Lean Institute Brazil dedicated our time and resources, and we developed a book called The Daily Management to Execute Strategy. And this book was launched first in Portuguese, then it was translated to Spanish, now English, and we have it also in Polish, Turk. So there are some options to have access to this book. And we are very happy that also Mark Reich just has written a book and launched this year, the Managing on Purpose. And on this book, he connects a lot of the elements of daily management with the strategy, the deployment, actually with the strategy definition and the deployment. So I will be able to go through this process today with you. I will talk a little about how do we get from the strategy, how do we get to the shop floor, to the line leaders, and how do we connect them to the problem solving that we need every day. Obviously, the session today, there's a limited amount of time. This is why we are talking about the summit that is coming in South Africa. I will be there, and we will have a chance to actually do a deeper dive in all these concepts. So today is much more as a possibility to understand the basic concepts, but I think it will be enough for you to understand how things are connected and how the elements appear. Okay, like everything in Lean, it's about a continuous learning journey. And so this is one of the steps that we have. Okay, so I'm leaving here the QR code. I will leave with Tihippo the presentation in the end. So the PDF file will be also accessible through the team in South Africa. And you also have my contact there, my email, and whoever wants can connect also in LinkedIn. Okay, Tihippo, do you believe we can move forward? Sure.
Yes, Chris,
Okay.
let's move.
Well, as Hippo was explaining, we are part of the Lean Global Network. So the Lean Institute Brazil started in 1998, just 1 year after the United States, when they started it in 1997, the first Lean Institute, the Lean Enterprise Institute in the USA. And after that, we supported and helped also the opening and starting of other institutes around the world. So we are very happy to be part of this global network that includes South Africa, that is so important to develop the region. So the idea is that we have this global initiative where the local institutes can support their local communities. Obviously, we will support each other to make this happen as a big global network. So we have our purpose to improve the organization and society through the practice of lean management. We've been doing this, developing profound transformation solutions, always in a practical way, hands-on, and we are part of this community. Okay. So what we do as institutes, we do activities of consultancy. This is why we have a lot of learnings around the projects, the transformations. We have the trainings, we do the workshops. Sometimes people call us just for a workshop, a specific workshop. We also organize events, as does South Africa. The idea to join the community, get everybody together and exchange experiences. We have the publications. That's part of our challenge in Brazil. We have our language is Portuguese, Portuguese Brazilian, but a lot of the literature outside Brazil, basically it's in English, so we have to do translations and support our local community. But at the same way, we also create content in Portuguese, and sometimes we have to do the translations to English, like the case of this daily management book. And the idea is to always be connected to this lean community locally and globally. So to start off uh, our presentation today, so at the end, I will leave at least 15 minutes for us to dialogue and do some questions and answers. So please register your doubts. But to start off here, I brought just a comic about the struggle, a typical situation. We've seen this happen in a few companies with this idea of, okay, we have a great top level leaders, senior leaders, they are dialoguing, they're discussing their strategy, developing something incredible. And actually there's something is wrong. Something is not working, is not bringing the benefit that is expected. And it's very interesting how many times this happens. And there are so many reasons related to this. So why do strategies often fail? Okay, so this is one of the questions that we receive, and people come and try to understand and see if we can help them with their strategy or strategy deployment. And we have to start understanding how they are organized in their daily activities. And we see a lot of dialogue happening between the senior leaders and the middle management. There's a lot of discussion about the strategy formation. While all this is happening, exactly like the image in the comic in the boat, you have a value stream. You have the people on the line, the frontline leaders, they are there, they are working. They don't have the time to discuss the strategy. They're not included in all these dialogues, but they have to execute and really deliver value to the customer. So they are there struggling with all their problems that are not connected to what's being discussed in the high levels. So this is a typical situation. We've been seeing so many companies, they hire many consultancy companies to discuss how to design a better strategy. But the truth is it's very disconnected to what's happening on the Gamba, on the shop floor, where the value is actually happening. So another thing that happens a lot, and this is also registered in many articles and books, it's about the small problems that are overlooked or ignored. They start becoming big. So it starts off with a small crack, and suddenly you have a huge hole in your company, because those are the small things that are consuming the time and the effort of all your employees that are on the line. They are being consumed by these small things that nobody is fixing. Everybody knows about them because if you talk to the team, mainly the team level, they will know those typical problems that happen every day, but actually they're not being solved because they are not gathered on the big strategy of the company. So this is something also that is part of the struggles that we have daily. The good thing about all this, after so many years, actually, we as the institutes, we understand that lean is a great answer for all of this because it's about connecting people at all the levels, from the CEO to the frontline worker, that they all must feel aligned and connected to the organizational purpose. Okay, so this is something that we understand, and lean really connects and supports. And the other part is actually understanding that it's not just a matter of willing to do it, but actually what are the mechanisms that we have in place. So this is what we call about the management system. What is a management system in a company? It are all these things, all these artifacts that we have to connect people so that they can have routines to actually dialogue about what they are doing, about the purpose, about their work. Okay, so the lean management system is what we are striving for. But again, we need to know how to start doing it and how to start practicing. And then we come to some of the practices and, like I said, some tools. So lean has a framework. So I believe some of you have been working with lean for a few years now. We have the lean transformation framework. And this framework talks about how to engage on a true transformation of the company. We have to look at the purpose, where do we want to get to, what do we want, what's the problem to be solved, what's the process that we actually have, the process in place to get to that purpose, to achieve that purpose. So that's one of the pillars. On the other pillar, we have the capability development. So how are we developing our people to actually work on the process to develop or to deliver the purpose that we have? And in the middle, we have the management system. The management system connects all these mechanisms that we need to put in place with the leadership that has to actually fulfill and work over these mechanisms to connect the full system. The basic thinking, the underlying understanding, the culture of the company goes on the base because everything will be built on that. This is why we talk a lot of the lean mindset. So the lean transformation framework has been talking about this idea of management system very explicitly for at least the last 10 years. But some people were struggling with, okay, I understand I need a management system, but how do I do it? And this is when we decided to be a little more explicit about some practices and some tools that you actually can use to build a good, strong management system. And like I said, we had the opportunity now with these two books. We have it. We have the Daily Management to Execute Strategy, the book that I'm going to go through a little more in detail now, and the Managing on Purpose. This book was launched in March this year during the Lean Summit in the USA. So we all have the opportunity now to have these two books. One of them talking a lot about how to develop the strategy and aligning the team around it. And then we have the daily management about how do you execute the strategy once it's been aligned on. So we have now the practices to actually go through and do a deeper practice over all these elements. Okay, so these are our strong suggestions. And one thing that is important, why are we talking about the two of these activities? We are talking about the Hoshinkanri, that's the Japanese terminology for the policy deployment using this technique, the lean technique, and the daily management. So the Hoshinkanri talks about these big experiments, these big challenges in a business level that we need to go through, but it will not sustain. It will not sustain by itself. It needs the daily management because it's everyday activities that we do that will sustain all the improvement that we are doing throughout the year. So this is why we say the best situation is when we can combine both of these practices, thinking of a Hoshin process of a policy deployment with the daily management improvements that happen every day and sustain your transformation. Okay, so this is the image that we've been using to actually explain the combination and the power of using these two concepts. Well, the lean management system is for everyone solving problems every day, right? And actually learning and improving, sorry, and improving every day. And this improvement and learning has to be on what really matters, looking at value to our customers, looking at the value stream. Okay, so this is the idea. I will go a little more through these elements through the process of building a good daily management, the purpose, what are the building blocks? So, what are the elements that we need to consider, and what are the behaviors that are expected using the daily management? So, I will talk about this in the next few minutes. So, what is exactly daily management and how can daily management help your company? Okay, so now we start doing a deeper dive. Well, daily management is the continuous process that ensures the right work is being done in the right way at the right time. Okay, so the same way we talk about the products going through the flow, we talk about just in time. Here, we're talking about getting the people to do the work, what is the work to be done, and actually getting it right, getting it done the right way, getting it done at the right time. Okay, this is about the timely manner, how we manage our resources. So we want to achieve the business success at all levels of the organization. So it's understanding that this is the management system that guarantees and supports the flow. It doesn't substitute the flow. It only will support this flow, the value stream that you have to deliver value to your customer. We want also to ensure that deviations, problems, are detected early and solved at the root cause by all the team members. So problems will happen, we know that, but we need to be prepared. So if a problem emerges on the value stream, how do we react? And how long do we take to react? So this kind of discussion will appear in the daily management building. So while we are building it up, we will dialogue and we will identify all these needs. In the end, what we are trying to achieve is we're trying to imagine a different way of connecting the whole company, aligning everybody with the business strategy. Okay, so we are trying to get every part or every person in the company actually connected and aligned with what's the business needs, the business orientation, focused in value creation for our customers. Okay, so aligning all this and guaranteeing that everybody is connected is our main objective. One thing that we really see as a breakthrough with daily management is the reaction time once a problem occurs. Traditionally, we see problems happening and we ask people, how long does it take for the management? How long does it take for somebody to react over a problem? And this is something interesting. Look at your company, think about a problem, maybe something recent that happened, and think about how long did it take for the company to actually acknowledge the problem and then finally find a proposition of a solution to fix that problem. You're going to discover that some companies that can be days. When we go to big multinational companies, sometimes that takes weeks or even months. So that's part of what we are worried about. We are worried about the stability of the system, of the business. But every time we have a problem and this takes months to fix, you're wasting resources. You're creating new problems for months at a time. Okay, so this is part of what we are worried. With daily management, we expect the system to react faster. So, first, recognize problems faster, and second, have everybody engaged in problem solving, not just a team of specialists, but actually everybody engaged in problem solving on their level of autonomy. Okay, so this is part of what we want with daily management. We want to bring the problem solving uh, process happening the closest to the job as possible. Okay, so that's part of the challenge that we are designing a system to detect and to support problem solving in the closest point to the problem. Daily management has three big blocks of elements here. So I will have to today, I will go through the concept of each one of these three blocks. I will not be able to really define and go through how to build each one. This I will have to make the call to action to come to the workshop, and we will explore all the details of each one of them. But actually, just understand these concepts first. If I look at a daily management board, I should see a commitment. So, how am I connected to a purpose, a true purpose, a true north? What is important for the company? What is the challenge to be solved? So, remember the lean transformation framework? We're trying to look at the roof. We have a purpose, and we maybe not fulfilling the purpose as we would like. So we have a commitment. We have something that we are struggling, something that's a problem, something that has to be solved. Then we come to the control variables. Here are the metrics that I can control every day and see how I'm going, checking the indicators and seeing if they're going up, going down, what's happening. Do I understand why these variables are changing? Do I understand why they're going up or down? This dialogue, direct dialogue, who is in the process, and they start understanding what do they do, what are the changes they are doing that affect directly the metrics. This is the sweet spot for the understanding and the learning, because now they start understanding what they do and how it affects the bigger picture, because they know about the commitment, they aligned with the commitment, and at the same time they know what are the variables that they touch that change the results of that area, of that line, and in the end, the results of the company. But obviously, if we're looking at variables and we're looking at metrics, some of these metrics will be oscillating in a way that actually we still don't know and that we need to learn more. And now we go to the last block. It's the problem solving. So this board, to have a full daily management system working, you need to have the commitment, you have to have the control variables, and you're going to have the problem solving block. The problem solving block, it's where you're going to deep dive on those variables, on the things that are making them oscillate. They are changing and you're losing something and you don't know why. So you will have to start doing some problem solving with A3s, for example. Okay, maybe five whys, maybe something simple as that. But the thing is, you need to investigate. And here's the interesting part. It's when people start getting engaged with the problems that they are facing. They are opening the dialogue about the problem. They're not trying to hide the problem. We are trying to expose the problem and create a dialogue over what's happening. And the nice thing about all these lean management tools, they exist not about the tool. It's not about how I'm making a beautiful board, but it's about the dialogues, the interactions, creating the environment for people to actually talk about their work and talk about their problems to do their work. And now you have a situation, a board where the leadership is there to support all this dialogue to happen, to actually facilitate this, so that in the end, all the results and all the learnings that happen on the daily management can go back to our feed, our strategy. And this way we can actually adjust depending on what's happening on the real life on the Gamba, or maybe we can even go faster. Depending on what's happening, we can make a decision that we have the possibility to actually do better or do more. And that's the beauty, because we made a plan, original plan. Normally, a strategy is aligned with your financial, your budget, your yearly budget. It's a 1 year plan. I live in Brazil. A lot of things change here with politics, with economics throughout the year. So changes happen and we need to be prepared. And how do we learn throughout the process and adjust depending on what happens? I don't know how it is in South Africa, if you guys have some instabilities, but we do have a lot of instabilities here, and having systems that actually allow us to be resilient and to adjust our way of working fast, and even using a word that today is very modern, being agile. This is what's about. Let's be agile around our problems. So, exploring a little more about each one of these blocks, okay? But like I said, this is the most detailed level I will go today. The commitment, so the first block, we always start there. It's about the specific purpose of this daily management board. So every daily management board will have a specific reason to exist. Okay, so with the objective, the goals, the history of indicators or metrics from the past, and who are the people who should be involved, engaged in this process on this board. Okay, why and for what purpose this board exists, what is the problem we need to solve, how does it connect to the needs and purpose of the business? Is it clear for everybody? What's our purpose? What are we doing here for the business actually and for our clients? What goals are you trying to achieve? Um, and this part and how to get the people involved and actually committed on this process. Sometimes you have to have the list, explicit list of people who should be attending the meetings on this board. Okay, so that's as simple as it is. We do this since school, right? You get somebody there. Are the kids here in school? Are they in class? Because we need people there to dialogue, to create the situations of the dialogues to happen so we can actually talk about the problems. Then we go to the second part of the board, second block. We need to monitor the control variables. What are the metrics for day-to-day management? And again, it's not useful to go to a daily board with metrics that are only updated once a week. That doesn't work. So if you're going to a daily board, please, these metrics should be updated at least once a day. Okay, the daily is just a rhythm of management. You could be doing it faster, you could be doing it in shifts, you can do hourly. But the thing is, if you're doing a daily meeting, a daily hurdle, you should be doing at least the updates of these indicators, of these metrics, at least once a day, because we want to understand what are the problems we had this day. But if we don't have the updates, we actually don't have anything to dialogue. Okay, so please keep the updates in the same rhythm. So what are they really going to track and control on a daily basis? What to do when there's a problem the team can't solve? So it's nice to have the help chain. So this is another concept that's very important. How is your help chain? How is it designed? If people have a problem, the team member has a problem, who should he call? Who should come to support? Who is going to participate in this hurdle to dialogue about the problems? And what are the standards that should be in place to ensure stability and repeatability? So these are also elements that are important. When we talk about instability, we need to know what is the standards, what's stability, what is should be happening so we can compare to what is really happening. The third block, like I said, is the problem solving process. So solving emerging issues to ensure expected performance. So what to do when there's a problem, what is the troubleshooting system, What is the level of recurrency of a problem? And does the system address root causes to prevent problems from reoccurring? And when will we address the root cause? So all about problem solving will be here. We need to understand what are we actually just troubleshooting and what are we actually going to a root cause analysis. So it's nice to have some Paretos, some analyzing some of this big data. This also helps to engage and connect people to what's happening. So this is just an example. Okay, so this is a typical, I can use this word, a typical example of a daily management board. So until now, I've been explaining to you the concepts, the whys, but here is a real example of a board that we would find in a company. So this is the example in the book. In the book, you can go through there's a storyline in the book. So you have the opportunity to go through the story and how it was built, the board. But anyway, we have here the purpose, the target. So this is the big purpose of the company. So they need to go up in productivity. They are having to reduce waiting times to customers. We have some of the history indicators of the area. Okay, so how we've been doing in the past month or past years. Okay, who should be committed to these activities? So who are the team members for this board? Who are the people who should be engaged? Okay, and here in the middle we have the variables. What are we controlling? So we are following every day. There's a volume that is planned. What is actually happening? So if something's off the plan, we will have to open a dialogue daily about what's happening. There are some definitions, like I said, at the bottom. What do we do if something happens? So we have the help chain, we have the work standards to know what is expected. So all of this is also on the board. And then we have here the problem solving area where we will analyze in a little more depth about the problems that happen. Are they repetitive? Which is what frequency, volume, maybe we can do the Pareto, like I said, or we will choose to some of these do a deeper dive and actually with the team they can concentrate and go a deeper dive on some of these problems. And so we can open specific A3 to fix these problems. Okay, maybe we're not going to fix all the problems in the first moment, and it's okay. But if we start organizing ourselves, knowing which problems are more important because we have clarity about what affects most our purpose, this really helps to choose and actually select between the problems that we have where we're going to start. Sometimes we simply cannot engage in all of the problems at the same time. That's a typical situation. At the bottom also of the problem solving, we have an action board where we will commit to dates. When will we deliver? When somebody will bring, for example, the A3 with a little more detail or a problem solving for the next week. So here we have the opportunity also where each team member will be connected to a problem and they will commit to when they will be fulfilling or actually delivering a solution for that. If that doesn't work, or if they cannot continue because the problem is just too big or just too complex when we started opening it up, we also have an opportunity to create a place to escalate problems. What does this mean? Escalate means to actually take a problem to another level, possibly calling help with your leadership. So we start connecting the different levels in the company where they will be engaging together with the team with these problems. So sometimes you will need to ask for help, and that's part of the process to actually connect the different levels on the problems. Like I said before, the idea is to problem solve at the lowest level, at the closest level to the problem as possible. But the truth is, some of these problems have to be taken to a value stream level or even to a strategy level decision. So then you can escalate on that column. Okay, so this is part of how we start connecting the routines between the different levels. Every level should have their daily management board. Okay, so you're going to have different levels of boards, and obviously they will be a little different, because as I said, it's a concept of what is our commitment, what are the variables that we are controlling, and what's our problem solving. So the variables will change. What is the bigger commitment will also change, and how we do the problem solving will also change, because we'll have other tools and other practices to go through the problem solving. So here I have again, just an example of a managerial level. So the managers can have a board like this. They are above the operational daily management board, where you do have here a true north A3, for example. You can have a A3 in the commitment there about the area. What are we trying to achieve? Many times these A3s come from the hosting process. Remember, I said that we were connecting all the activities that we're doing. So we did the hosting canary process. We did the strategy deployment analysis there. Perfect. Now we have a lot of these A3s with all the strategy, all our purpose, and all our big challenges, and we can bring it up to the board. Now we have here in the middle what we are controlling. What do we look? Maybe now, is it daily? Is it weekly? It changes sometimes depending on the level we are on. But okay, if we can fulfill or actually follow up on these daily activities, excellent. But here is in a higher level, we are connecting the many managers we have in our area. We are connecting with them to align about what we're trying to solve. Again, where do these problems where do the problems occur? They occur on the Gemba. How do they come up here? Many of them will be escalated and be presented to us so that we can, as managers, solve some problems also in our board. So we start connecting the boards. On the book, there is this diagram just for us not to get lost. But the idea is, if you're in a complex company that has many levels, many areas, many value streams, for example, you're going to have these boards and they will connect. So it's nice to actually understand how they're connecting to each other, which boards support the other. So how do I escalate problems? Because once I start understanding the boards, I will start understanding the flow of the problem to be solved. So they will go up and down depending on what's happening. There's a dialogue around this. But the idea is I start creating a rhythm between the activities and the boards that I organize. So the daily management is at the core of the management system, and it should be designed to align and encompass all levels and departments across the organization. Everybody should be engaged in a daily management board. So somewhere you should be connected to a daily management. And these problems that emerge from the value stream, they have to follow up to the company and to the department level or the site level. So here is just an example where we start off with daily management at 8 a.m. Okay, it's in a sector like a line level or maybe a cell level, depending on what you're doing in your company. This is a typical situation. 1 hour after, we have a department level where we're looking at a higher level, trying to understand what came up from all the value streams, what are the problems, what do we need to solve. From this, we can actually connect to a higher level where we connect and look at all the value streams, okay, maybe at 10 a.m. And at the site level, we will receive all the problems that appeared today at midday. So I will know what came up, what is being brought from the lower level daily management and is getting to the site manager on his daily management board. Okay, what is expected? Obviously, if I'm going up the hierarchy, I will have more discussions around what affects the strategy and puts in risk our bigger vision, and maybe something I will have to decide. While if I'm closer to the line, closer to the shop floor, to the Gamba, I will have more operational problems. So this is our expectation. You will have a change on the kind of problems that have to be solved in every level. Okay, this is expected. Part of the challenge also of this process is the evaluation if the problem should be going up or not. Obviously, in the first moment, we need to troubleshoot and we need to help the problem to stop the effect. But a second level, when we start discussing about the countermeasures and the deep analysis of the root cause, sometimes we will discover that actually that is a problem that should have been solved closer to the shop floor. And maybe that's consuming part of the leadership time. So this is something that we need to evaluate, because if the team is not prepared to do problem solving and all the problems are going up to the manager, maybe we have a different kind of problem. We have a problem of people development. And then we go back to the capabilities development. How are we developing the skills in our group? How are we developing their ability to actually solve problems? Again, daily management is an excellent tool to expose problems every day. The chance is that if you're using it, you will start understanding better the problem and you will be able to react while the problems are still small before they become something very, very big, and sometimes too big to tackle directly. Okay, so this is part of what we want to do. We want to shorten the time to discovery, and we want to create this environment where we can dialogue around the problems. Let me go one more. So we are getting here to a point. I know that many of you that are in this webinar today are leaders. So I always think about this as something very important to do a deeper discussion around the role of leadership when we're talking about these tools. Because in the end, all these management tools that we have, the lean management system, and all these practices, we're talking mainly with the leaders. It's about the routine of the leaders. What do you do on your daily activities and how do you connect and support your team? So the daily management really helps us to create this place where the roles and responsibilities start being clearer. Oh, but I have the documents. I've done some trainings. They should know. But here's a place where you can really verify. Do they really understand their responsibility over the process, over the problems? Okay, what are the attitudes and behaviors they have once they face the problems? So it's an opportunity to actually talk to people. In the end, it's a people system that we have. So it's how do you connect people around their work and around how they actually problem solve the things that will happen every day. It's also about creating trust. So it's about creating a place to talk about things, expose problems, and understand that I'm in a psychologically safe environment. So it's not about the punishment, but it's about actually creating the environment to open dialogue and problem solve. That's part of our challenges also here in not only Brazil, but I would say Latin America. People sometimes get afraid and try to hide problems and not share about their problems. And here we are trying to talk about it and say it's part of the process to actually have problems. We know it will happen. And going back to the origin around lean, it's all about this continuous learning and continuous rethinking about our process to deliver more value. So problems will always exist. They can be caused or they can be created. Some of these problems are actually created by our challenges for the future, but there's still problems to be solved. So we need to create an environment to actually uh, have this open dialogue about problem solving. So the leader has to support the team. The daily management is a practice that you have to actually create this moment to talk to the team every day about the problems they're facing, their challenges, and how can the leader actually support them through these challenges. So this moment while the leader is talking about the indicators or the metrics from the last day and trying to understand, do they understand what are the problems? Do they understand what are the causes? What are the learnings that they are having from these problems? Do they fulfill the need of the company about what we have to deliver? Are they aligned with our organization? Because if any of these answers is something that is not what the leader is expecting, that's a good checkpoint. And like I said before, it's before it starts getting too big. So This is a great place to create the environment for the leader to actually develop their team. It's the beginning of the dialogues. Obviously, depending on what happens during the daily meeting, you will have to do external meeting or a dialogue or maybe a training or even support them in a problem solving outside the daily meeting. But here is the place to really see what's happening and connect to the real problems that affect your system. Okay. So the daily management is a learning space to solve real and strategic problems every day. So my recommendation: start experimenting, start doing some trials. You're going to learn a lot from these experiments. There's no perfect board, and it's okay. It's about these learning cycles that you're going to create. So you're going to start with a simple board. It doesn't have to be beautiful. Just start creating the dialogues. That's the most important part between the team members and the leaders. So if you want your strategy to actually get to the team member, you have to have the leaderships dialoguing with the team members every day, with frequency with them, and really understanding what they are capturing from this dialogue and supporting them to deliver value to the customer. So the stability for a sustained lean transformation is what we understand is something important. The daily management is a great support for this. It creates a place for you to reduce your instability to create a stability, a real stability for your transformation to grow on. Well, as I had promised Chepo, I said let's try to leave some minutes at the end for dialogue or for open questions. Anyway, I leave my invitation here. I will be a speaker at the Lean Summit in South Africa. I really hope to see you there. If you have some examples, if you want to try some things out and actually bring the examples to the workshop at the South Africa Summit, that would be great. It would be great to exchange experiences, things you're trying, and we can dialogue a little more in real cases from South Africa. That would be a great learning for me also. So thank you. Thank you, Tsepo, for the opportunity. Thank you, everybody who is watching here at this moment.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. That was just so well delivered, effortless, flawless. And I think what I really love is it's a conversation that I was even having with other practitioners, is how we most of the time we focus so much on the tools, we forget the fundamentals, the philosophy. And I think that's what came in a lot in your presentation, so that when people do this, they do it with the right mindset. So great stuff. So at this moment, we welcome any questions. At the moment, I don't see any questions. So while we're waiting for the questions, I'll also maybe just share this event that Chris mentioned, where he will be. I'm hoping you can see the slide. He'll be joining us. He'll be one of our guest speakers, as well as he will be facilitating the workshop. So this is part of the events that the Lean Institute hosts as part of what we offer to our community. So this one is the one we have locally. I'm also going to share about the global event that will also happen in November. So our summit will be happening at that graduate school, the UCT Conference Center. Those dates, actually, it's the 27th. And the key themes really is, aligned to whatever we're just saying right now, developing and engaging our people. And then other topics, even, looking at the digital age. Chris will also be facilitating a workshop that will be that. And then we'll have a lot of other speakers. Some of the highlights is that there is a site visit on the 27th. So that will be at the Western Cape Blood Services. And then the summit, the main day of the summit is on the 28th. So we'll have over and above Chris, we'll have local people to also share their stories. We'll have a panel that will be looking at organizational leadership and culture. There'll be another panel. They're looking at healthcare innovation. And then, as I said, as Chris also said, for more in-depth of how to apply, then the daily management workshop will be on the 29th. And then on the 30th, then he will also, Chris will also then take us on the lean digital transformation. So will you go to Quicket Lean Summit 2025, or you can just also look at that link. So this is the event that we are having for our local community. And for the global community, there is that online event that is hosted by the Lean Global Network. We called it's the Lean Global Connection. So this is a free event that's online, and we started this during the years of COVID in 2021. That was when we hosted the first event. So it starts on the 13th. It will be about 4 p.m. SA time. It's a 24-hour marathon of cases, locally, globally, so we get to see, how people are performing. Globally, we learn from each other. So that's also, that's the link. I will also paste that into the chat. So those are the key events that we have for our community members. I'm still looking for questions. I don't see any questions in the chat. Maybe if there are any hands, I don't know if any others want to ask maybe questions, maybe raise your hand. I think, Chris, it was too crystal clear, but maybe while people are thinking, I'll maybe ask one around culture.
Culture. Okay.
Especially the question of, how problems are seen, because as you said, within this system is we want to be able to deviations are picked up quickly, but I mean, what needs to be in place for people to, be comfortable to share, problems, expose problems. Maybe if you can just also maybe touch on that.
Well, it's like I said, we need to create the environment of psychological safety. Nobody will expose problems if they are afraid of being punished. So this is why I said about the leadership behavior. If we have an environment where people are afraid, they will not expose, they will not put their problems up, and they will make everything possible to actually hide it. Obviously, if I only look at the numbers or the results once a month, it's a little easier to trick the system. But once you start doing daily management and the leader is on the Gemba, going to the board and talking to people every day, things will start to appear. But the challenge is, what do we do once we find a problem? If the first reaction of the leader is actually to punish, you will lose the engagement, and they will get stronger and stronger and create what I say and call the antibodies to how to face that leader that is actually trying to punish everybody. So you create a very toxic environment. So the daily management will not work in a place like that. Actually, the board, I can guarantee to you, rapidly will be stopped, and people will stop using it as part of their dialogue. It won't happen. So the challenge is start right. Maybe if you have a big company, don't start everywhere at the same time. Choose some areas, start smaller. We in Lean we enjoy doing pilots, and we say let's try an area, pilot area, model line, do a model board. Let's try one. Find some enthusiasts, some people who are willing in the first moment. Maybe not all the leaders are willing in the first moment, at the first moment. But once some of them start having results, the others, you're going to have a lot of people engaging and wanting to experiment. And it's going to be easier. Okay. But it's a big challenge, Hippo. Again, the board, the physical board, the paper, it won't fix everything alone. It's about this connection. We say that it's a social, technical thing, philosophy, lean. So it's not just the technical and not just the tools. Okay, so it's nice to know the tools, but that's not enough. It's about our behaviors around the tools. If you're not sure, start small and
Mm.
be and experiment before doing it big for everyone. And that's nice about the daily management. You can start really small. You can start in an area, and it's okay. You're going to start the open dialogue, maybe in a safe area with some leaders that are already wanting to experiment. Excellent. Let's start with them, and then we start growing to the rest of the value stream, to the rest of the company. And that's how we've done it to many companies. In the end, when it's a total company and total organization, it's great, but maybe it's not the place to start in your case.
Mm. No, thanks. I think that's great because I have seen a number of companies where you see the dashboards were last updated maybe, a couple of years ago. Or, or like
I've
sometimes
seen
you
that.
see,
I've seen some post-its start falling, or even, well, in Brazil we have a lot of sun, so
yes.
sometimes you even have the sun burnt of the post-it against the background. So you say, look, for this to really happen, for how long this post-it has been there, so it's just obvious that the board is not working. It's a dead board. It's
Mm,
not
mm,
alive. So daily management should be live. It should be constantly changing, constantly. It's a learning process. And if it's not
mm.
changing, you should rethink if that's really what you want to go forward with.
Yeah. So I really like the idea of starting small, exactly that. And maybe because when you start small and you can see the results, which is also what you alluded to, is that we are doing this, if we do this right, the feedback is the results. That we and this business results, business goals being achieved.
Yes,
It's also for the leaders, as you pointed out, starting to pick up in terms of our people development. Where are our gaps? Um,
exactly. It's
mm,
something interesting, Hippo. I've seen a lot of companies doing Kaizen events or Kaizen activities. Sometimes a Kaizen week or other structures, Kaizen Blitz, whatever. But where are these Kaizen born? Where are these themes chosen and why?
mm,
When you go to daily management, you actually have something very rich in information about your real problems. And if you're doing it right, on the third column where you have the problem solving part and you have the Pareto, you have some very nice problems to be tackled with whatever solution you want to use. You want to use the Kaizen Blitz, you want to use the Kaizen Week, whatever you want to use. It's just perfect because now you have the information about which problems have
mm,
frequency, are impacting your result, are impacting your purpose. Okay, now you have a direction to where to start your Kaizen events. So these are also very nice to think of when you start thinking about how to raise the bar. I saw that
excellent.
somebody wants to connect with us. Maybe I
Please,
saw a
please,
camera opening. Another. I have.
yeah,
I have a
if
Chris there. I believe it was Chris.
yes, please come in,
Yeah.
Chris. Yes.
Join us.
You're still
Sorry,
muted,
you're in
please.
mute.
You're still muted.
Sorry, third world problems. All right. Thank you. I want to ask, have you seen, well, a lot of our businesses are quite dispersed. So you'll have a value stream running along a specific distance, and you have small teams along the value stream working together. So they meet more virtually. Have you seen this being successful, the daily management even on a virtual basis, not just face to face?
Well, excellent question, Chris. What I can tell you is, Sihepo already told you that I will be delivering the Link Digital Transformation workshop. So one of my specialties is actually supporting technology companies. Before the pandemic, we already were doing a lot of software companies, and most of them, the teams weren't physically in the same place. it's part of their normal condition even before the pandemic. So when the pandemic hit, a lot of what we started doing in companies is what we learned from technology companies, because that's part of what they were doing before. Daily management with these teams are totally virtual. They've been doing it. It's about creating a board. It can be as simple as creating a board in Miro board, Mural board. It doesn't matter what tool you're using to expose, but it's about creating the environment to dialogue about the problems and exposing about them. So you can do it virtually. It works well. Nowadays, some companies are coming back to their offices, so we have the hybrid situations. This is also part of the challenge, but it's okay. Most of the technologies are getting cheaper. When we talk about televisions, big televisions, they are getting cheaper, even some that are touchscreen. So I've seen companies having those dedicated to an area where they have the board virtually there. So whoever is online can follow the Miro board online, and whoever is physically there can move the post-its virtually. It still works. But again, you have to think about the communication tools, because in the end, it's about how you get people connected and communicating together. So the challenge is more than the board is actually to get people to have a good microphone that can communicate, that can interact. That's the most important part, because if they are there online on the time that we need, it works, okay? Because we are creating the environment to talk about the problems. But so my recommendation is have a look. I don't know if you've practiced with any of these tools during the pandemic, these virtual boards, but they work pretty fine. On the book, the daily management, there is a chapter that talks about physical, hybrid, and physical, digital, and hybrid situations of the boards also. So thank you for asking.
Okay. We are at the end of our time, so I'd like to thank everyone who managed to stay with us till the end. And we look forward to connecting you, as you saw in our events. Either you can join us at the LGC online, or you join us, as I said, in Cape Town, and then Chris will be there. And yeah, we look forward
Yeah,
to
come to
connecting
Cape
in
Town.
person. Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Tipo. Thank you, everyone who stayed until now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.